Off the... Avery Bradley with the deflection against...
This is not how you play the final 19 seconds.
I don't think anybody disagrees with the fact that the NBA is the premier league in the world when it comes to basketball. But have you ever wondered just how much better the average NBA player is than players from different leagues? Well, let's dive in and take a look. I did a quick Google search and came across this ESPN article of the 12 best basketball leagues outside of the NBA. I can't go over all 12, that'd take entirely too long, so I'm just going to choose 4 of these teams. I'll pick the top 2 leagues in this article, the EuroLeague and Spain's Liga ACB. Then I'll go a bit lower and check out the NLB League in Australia, where LaMelo Ball played for a year, and the CBA, which is China's top league. We'll take a look at players who played in both the NBA and one of these other leagues, and then we'll just compare how they performed on both sides. I'll start off with Anthony Parker. These days, Parker is the assistant general manager for Orlando, but back in 1997, he was the 21st overall pick in the NBA. In college, Parker was no scrub. I mean, in his 3rd season playing at Bradley University, Parker averaged 18.9 points per game while shooting 42% from beyond the arc. In his 3rd year in the NBA, however, while playing for the Magic, Parker was averaging 3.6 points a game while shooting just about 7% from beyond the arc. He was released by Orlando soon after. Well, basketball wasn't quite over for Parker just yet, as he took his talents to Europe. In his first year, he made an immediate impact and won a FIBA Super League championship with Maccabi. Then, just a few years later, in 2005 and 2006, Parker won the EuroLeague MVP in back-to-back years. In his first MVP season, Parker averaged 18 points, 5.3 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 2 steals per game, while shooting 54.5% from the field, 47.6% from three-point range, and 85% at the free throw line. Just a little reminder here, the EuroLeague is considered the 2nd best basketball league in the world. From not being able to maintain a spot on the bench in the NBA to winning back-to-back MVP titles in the 2nd best league in the world speaks mountains about the gap between the 2 leagues. After his 2nd MVP season, Parker made an NBA return and played for Toronto, where he averaged about 12 points per game while still lighting it up at 44.1% from three-point range. Pretty respectable, actually. But in the 2007 MVP race, he didn't receive any MVP votes, not even one. Next off, we're going to move on to Michael Beasley and his experience with the CBA, China's top basketball league. So, in 2015, Beasley played with the Miami Heat, where he averaged 8.8 points, 3.7 rebounds on 43% shooting from the field, which isn't terrible, but it's not surprising that the Heat decided to part ways with Beasley in the offseason, making him a free agent. In the following season, Beasley signed with the Shandong Golden Stars. Now, for someone who just averaged 8.8 points a season ago, how well do you think Beasley did in China? Do you think he averaged 20 points, maybe 25 points a game? Well, in his first game of the season with the Golden Stars, Beasley went off for 48 points. Then just 10 days later, Beasley went off again, this time for 49 points. When the All-Star game rolled around in January, Michael Beasley went off for 63 points, 19 rebounds, and 13 assists. Just for a quick comparison, the highest scorer in any NBA All-Star game is Anthony Davis for 52 points. After that was Wilt Chamberlain in 1962 for 42 points. Yet, Michael Beasley just went off for a 63-point triple-double in China's Premier League. Again, I'm going to reiterate this once more. From averaging 8.8 points with Miami to averaging an absurd 31.9 points and 13.2 rebounds while shooting 54.1% from the field with Shandong. Sheesh, guys. Beasley went from mediocre NBA numbers to putting up Joel Embiid type numbers in China. Just imagine this, guys. What would happen if a healthy Joel Embiid played with the CBA? I'll leave that one up to your imagination. Anyway, let's move on here. Next off is Nikola Mirotic and Spain's Liga ACB league. So, before Mirotic played in his first NBA game, he actually just won a Spanish League MVP back in 2013 at the age of 22. Then, when he came to the NBA, he was pretty good. I mean, he made the all-rookie first team in 2015, Then just a few years later, he was putting up almost 17 points per game while shooting about 43% from three-point range. Pretty respectable if you ask me. But again, when it comes to being the MVP in the NBA, no disrespect to Mirotic here, but he wasn't even in the conversation. However, when he left the NBA in 2019 and returned to the ACB League, he immediately became the MVP again in 2020, then won the Finals MVP just a year later in 2021. From being a decent role player in the NBA to becoming the best player in the third best league in the world just shows again how much further the NBA is than all other leagues around the world. Lastly, I'll show you just one more quick example of just the difference in skill levels between the NBA and other leagues. Andrew Bogut was the first overall pick in the 2005 draft. He had a career in the NBA. He made the All-NBA third team back in 2010, the All-NBA defensive team in 2015, and he also played an important role in the Warriors' 2015 championship. In December of 2020, however, Bogut announced his retirement from basketball, citing numerous injury issues as the main reason. For the 11 games he did suit up last season, Bogut averaged 3.5 points and 5 rebounds on about 12 minutes per game. Basketball wasn't over yet though for the 7-footer from Australia. Later that same year, Bogut suited up again, but this time he was playing for the Sydney Kings in the National Basketball League in Australia. He averaged 11.6 points and 11.6 rebounds that season while playing almost 30 minutes a game. And where do you think he ranked that season? Well, I'm not even joking when I say Andrew Bogut won the 2019 NBL MVP award. From being considered a shell of himself in 2019 to later becoming the best player in Australia's top basketball league, again, just speaks volumes of how difficult the NBA actually is. Now, I'm not saying that other leagues don't produce good basketball players. I mean, Luka Doncic has been a sensation in the NBA, but overall, it's kind of hard to argue the fact that the NBA on average is just levels above the rest of the leagues. I mean, here are two more examples of what a quote-unquote washed-up NBA player could be when he plays in a different league. Anyway, let's move on here and talk about the pay difference between the NBA and other leagues. The highest paid European player at the moment is actually the two-time MVP, Nikola Mirotic, who makes about $5 million a year. If we had to compare that salary with NBA players for the Warriors, that'd be about the same as Kevon Looney's salary. On the Lakers, that'd be about the same salary as Kendrick Nunn. That's insane if you ask me. A two-time MVP being paid the salary of a role player. Check this out. I found this chart online about the realistic average salaries of basketball players. The average NBA player is paid more than the average player in every other league in the world combined. In fact, let's look a bit further at something even more interesting. There are 10 teams in Australia's league, the NBL. The salary cap per team is about $1.1 million per year. So, if you multiply that by 10, that's about $11 million for the entire league of players. One NBA superstar at $40 million per year is paid 4 times as much as all the players in the Australian league combined. Anyway guys, I'm going to switch up the topic here really quick. Did y'all know that just a few years ago, Andrew Wiggins was considered a disappointment in Minnesota and Gary Payton II was bouncing around the G League teams? But when they were acquired by the Warriors, one has become an all-star and the other has become an NBA all-defensive caliber type of player. Why is it that players become so much better after being acquired by Golden State? Well, you can check it out here in this video, where I asked myself that same exact question. There's a lot more than meets the eye here, guys, and I'm sure you'll absolutely love this video. So just go ahead and click this thumbnail, and like always, I'll be with you on the other side.